What if I told you that the biggest issue we have is the way that we pay for our bins? I'm Rachel, I'm a public and social policy consultant, and I'm on a mission to scrap council tax. Council tax is the worst, most harmful public policy that we have in Great Britain. People describe council tax as broken. I disagree. It's doing exactly what it was intended to do, which is protect wealth, keep the poor in their place, and to make it so that you blame your local council for things when really the attention ought to be at central government. The reasons that council tax is doing the most harm of all public policies tends to fall into three categories. Now, those are regression, so the poor pay more and the wealthy pay less, the way in which we collect debt through council tax, and the third one, which is least talked about, but most fundamental to the issue and the harm that it's doing, is the fact that it's local at all. But I'm going to cover these three areas rapidly in this video if I can. So, first of all, regression. What does that mean? Regressive policies or regressive tax policies mean that people with less pay more as a proportion of their income. Now, when it comes to council tax, yes, as a proportion, on average, people do pay a lot more if you're living in less wealthy areas, and you pay less in wealthy areas. It's back to front. We want the wealthy to pay more. We want everybody on every part of the income spectrum to pay a fair share. Council tax doesn't do that. It's in reverse, which is why it's regressive. To demonstrate or to prove the point, we're going to look at two areas: Leicester and the City of London. Why Leicester and the City of London? Well, the Office for National Statistics tells us that gross disposable income, which is money that per head a household has on average to spend on each individual, in the City of London is £129,000, and in Leicester it's £16,000. If you're living in the City of London and you're in a Band D property, you'll pay £1,274 in council tax this year. Whereas in Leicester, remember, they have 1/8 of the disposable income than somebody in the City of London. You will be charged £2,407 this year, 89% more than an area where they have 8 times more disposable income. Wealthy pay less and the poor pay more. It was designed this way. This regression or this backwards way of charging people is only on the bill. When it comes to actually paying it, there are massive problems with council tax. These are kind of the issues that get the most attention. So Martin Lewis talks about it. There are a lot of debt charities talking about council tax debt, rightly so. But council tax debt is a symptom of the problem, and just fixing the way that we handle debt doesn't actually address the underlying unfairness and the harm that council tax is doing. But this is a really big bit of it. In England, council tax debt currently stands at £6.6 billion, and that goes up to about 8.3 billion when you bring Scotland and Wales into it. Northern Ireland have a slightly separate scheme. Precisely because people in poorer areas are asked to pay more, they find it harder to pay, and as a result go down a debt collection route. Talking about it gets me mad. So if you don't pay your council tax, you're likely to receive a summons and a liability order, and that is where your council takes you to the local magistrates courts, not individually, they do it as a big block, and they say this person hasn't paid their council tax, and the magistrate says, I agree. You are now allowed to collect this money from them using different means. Now, for the privilege of being told that the council can now go and chase you for that debt, you're charged an average of £125. A very small amount goes to the court, but the rest of it goes to your local authority to help fund the debt collection that it's creating in the first place. You couldn't make it up. Now, as with most things, councils are massively understaffed and underfunded, and so they outsource a lot of this debt collection to bailiffs. Now, bailiff referrals are up around 30% in the last 5 years, and last year, according to Debt Justice, 1.7 million people were referred, or households were referred to bailiffs for non-payment of their council tax. To get a letter from a bailiff, you're charged £75. If one knocks on your door, you're charged £235. If you're lucky enough to have that bailiff come and take away your things, they can charge you another £110 for taking away your stuff for something that you couldn't afford to pay in the first place. That's £420 extra, plus the average of £125 for your summons or liability order from the council in the first place. And if your debt is over £1,500, they can charge 7.5% of the debt in debt collection fees. The only people benefiting from council tax are debt collection agencies. We then also ask councils to dish out local welfare and to be there for you in times of extreme hardship through things like the Household Support Fund, Crisis and Resilience Fund coming up. And yet we're expecting people to approach their council when they're in debt to them. Imagine if the NHS raised its money this way and your local hospital charged the people in your local town directly for its services, but then chased them for that debt when they didn't pay. People wouldn't go to the hospital when they needed help. When they broke the leg, they might be too scared to go to A&E. I mean, right now it's a terrifying place as it is, but because of that debt, this is the situation that we have with councils. We have people not getting debt advice, not contacting the council when they need help, not getting the help they need, and suffering with shame and stigma and ever increasing debt because they're too scared to do anything about it. Because the people that they're supposed to go to for help are exactly the people who are chasing them for debt. It's fucking bonkers. But the biggest issue with council tax is the one that we don't talk about the most, and it's one that is causing the most harm, and that's the fact that it's local at all. And the fact that it's local and that the council tax that your council collects is kept and stays local in your local area and it's paid for those local services is sending some communities into a downward spiral and other communities into an upward wind of prosperity. Is more important than it used to be. Council tax didn't used to make up as much of a council's spending power as it does now. It used to be in around 2011, 10, 11, around 36% of core spending power, so that the money a council had to spend was about 36% made up of council tax. It's now about 56%. And the reason for this shift is because the government have very drastically and not very slowly or subtly sucked money out of local government through austerity. So because of austerity, we now have a situation where the majority of a council's spending power comes from what it can raise locally. And just like with lots of things, austerity was not delivered equally. So poorer areas, areas with less money, less power to raise or less wealth from which to draw in its local community, they saw even deeper cuts, up to nearly 30% per head. So in areas where there is greater poverty and therefore greater need, those areas have even less money to spend on those services. So the services decline, so the people don't get the help that they need, so they're in a worse position. So the council raises even less, so the services decline even more. It is a vicious cycle. We have communities circling the drain because of council tax, because it is a local tax. If it was national, if it was redistributed in a different way, we would see needs-based allocation of national revenue, which means that poorer areas would have more money. It's not just backwards in the fact that the City of London pay less than they do in Leicester. It's backwards in every single way. Poorer areas do not have enough money to pay for the greater level of service that they need because of council tax. Everything comes back to council tax. It's like some dreadful council tax Kevin Bacon game. I could link anything to council tax. So I've ranted for a change, and what can we do about it? The Green Party do have land value tax and progressive taxation on their agenda. I genuinely think it's the only option that we have now. Our other parties looking at it, apparently Labour are as well. And in Scotland, they've been trying to scrap council tax since 2007. And I've been holding my breath ever since Scotland. I think one of the best things that we can do is learn more about council tax, why it's causing the harm that it does. Some people call it broken. I disagree. It's doing exactly what it was designed to do. But if we want to reverse wealth inequality in this country, if we want to do something progressive, if we want to stop this harm, council tax has got to go. We need better policy.